This is Daniela presenting GATT, now known as WTO. The World Trade Organization, or WTO, is an international organization concerned with the rules of trade between nations. It promotes free trade, negotiations on trade agreements among governments, and settlement of trade disputes. The General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, or GATT, is an agreement that outlined the regulations of world trade from 1948 to 1994. It allowed for trade negotiations, known as rounds, which initially concerned tariff reductions and later added topics of interest like non-tariff and anti-dumping measures. Its final round, known as the Uruguay Round of 1986 to 1994, failed as countries had difficulty in coming to agreements pertaining to current trade issues. This failure led to the creation of what we know today as the WTO in January 1, 1995. As of July 23, 2008, the WTO has 153 members. Its main blocs are the EU, known as the European Communities within the WTO, the ASEAN, and the Mercosur, as these blocs are often coordinated and spoken for by one representative. WTO admits members on the basis that the applying members have full autonomy in the conduct of their trade policies. The aims of the WTO are to help producers of goods and services, exporters, and importers conduct their businesses, to improve the welfare of the peoples of the member countries, and ultimately to help trade flow smoothly, freely, fairly, and predictably. The structure of the WTO is composed of four main levels. The Ministerial Conference makes up the first level as a top decision-making group, meeting at least once after every 2 years. The General Council, as the next level, acts as the trade policy review and the dispute settlement bodies, meeting several times in a year. The third level is comprised of the Goods Council, Services Council, and the Intellectual Property or TRIPS Council, all of which must report to the General Council. Finally, special committees, working groups, and working parties deal with specific agreements that cover a range of topics such as development, regional trade, and the environment. The WTO administers trade agreements, acts as a forum for trade negotiations, settles trade disputes, reviews national trade policies, assists developing countries in trade policy issues through technical assistance and training programs, and cooperates with other international organizations. It operates by making ratified decisions based on a consensus and rarely makes decisions by only majority votes. The WTO has been relatively successful in achieving its aims as it has established programs such as the Doha Development Agenda Global Trust Fund, which is meant to finance technical assistance geared towards meeting the needs of developing and least developing countries as well as economies in transitions to enhance their ability to participate effectively in the WTO negotiations, and the Internship Program for the Mission of Selected WTO members in Geneva, which is meant to enhance developing countries' understanding of the multilateral trading system and trade policy. Within the last few years, the main world economic issue that the WTO has been facing is the recent financial crisis. According to WTO economists on March 25, 2009, the crisis will have caused an approximate 9% decrease this year, the biggest since World War II. One of the biggest situations WTO has been involved in, as well as its role in the present world economic situation, is trying to discourage protectionist measures, since trade can be a potent tool in lifting the world from these economic doldrums, as declared by Director General Pascal Lamy. In addition, within the last month or so, a so-called task force has been set up that should follow up the effects of the financial crisis on the WTO's different areas of work. If the crisis will significantly impact trade, then Lamy plans to consult with the chairman of the Trade Negotiations Committee. Therefore, whether it has been truly successful in playing its role in the crisis is still open for debate. And that's all there is for the WTO. Thank you for listening.